think you should.
So God of War 2018, or God of War 4, as a lot of people have been calling it recently, from what I've seen all over on YouTube and stuff, it came out on April 20th, 2018, and as the day I'm actually recording this, and on the same day I woke up around like 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30-ish, and I had played the game since then, and I played about like 10 hours. I played about 10 hours worth of God of War 2018, and honestly, I wish I streamed it, but if I can either make another save or I can actually do a new game plus, I think I would actually stream that, because then I could do some really cool and interesting stuff that Kratos can do in the game pretty much right from the get-go. And I don't know what else to say besides what other people have said already before, from other videos that have came out throughout the recent week or so, or even just today, as you know, the general public is now getting the game, me included, obviously. So I don't know what else to say other than, you know, visually the game looks fantastic. It looks fantastic. The designs for, you know, every single creature in the game, and you know, the World Eater especially. Even Kratos and Atreus, like themselves, they look fantastic. And if you're playing this game on the PS4 Pro, you can change it to where you can, you know, specifically choose for either performance or quality. And the game on the PS4 Pro, you can make it go from 30 frames to 60 frames per second. And I can't even imagine what it looks like on 60 frames per second. And I say that because I don't have a PS4 Pro, so I'm just like stuck with like a normal PlayStation. So I'm playing the game at 30 frames at the highest quality, but even then the game still visually just looks fantastic. There hasn't been anything that I've seen so far in the game where I'm like, oh, that looks kind of weird, but like, or it doesn't really look all that great, but it's like, no, like the game looks visually fantastic. It looks absolutely amazing. The soundtrack, which some people may not talk about, I'm a really like huge like fan. I'm the type of guy that really likes something with a good soundtrack, which is why I talk about anime a lot on this channel. But God of War, this game, like you have to listen to some of the tracks in the game. It's just it's so good. It's still got that God of War feel from, you know, the other games from the past, but you know, this is like a Nordic land with gods like Loki, Thor, and Odin and stuff like that. So it's like a Nordic kind of like feel, but along with God of War, and mixing that together, it sounds just beautiful. It's absolutely amazing. In terms of, you know, Atreus, you know, the son of Kratos, you know, the god of war, the ghost of Sparta, you know. Atreus was something that a lot of people were skeptical with, me included, because I wasn't sure what they were gonna do with him. I saw a comment, I don't remember where, but I saw a comment, and someone in the comment basically said, so it's basically Dad Simulator 2018, right? Or 2017, because that's when they were like seeing stuff originally, or whatever, right? Just whenever they posted the comment. And you know, I took that jokingly, of course, but then I saw you know, more gameplay obviously in 2018, closer to the release date, when they were talking about more stuff about the game, and I realized what they were doing with Atreus. And you know, he's actually very useful in terms of combat, because the square button is actually the button used to command to make him shoot arrows, and he has two different arrow types in the game. I know one of them is lightning and the other one I forget what it's called, but you know, they have their benefits, and they're very useful in combat, especially in terms of when you start upgrading like down to skill tree to make the magic arrows start to become more potent and powerful, and it becomes more useful in combat. And speaking of, you know, gameplay and combat, the combat is very fluent in this game, and I only just figured this out like yesterday, that the animations for Kratos when he's swinging around his axe, or he's like bashing his shield into like some of the enemies in the game, like they actually had like a stuntman like do a lot a lot of like the visuals that Kratos does with like swinging around the axe. And I feel like with some games, like they don't do that, but they did that with this game, right? And it feels very human. You know, a lot of what Kratos, a lot of what Kratos does in this game is very human, and it's it's just fucking great. And then of course, you know, the game starts off pretty basic. You know, you don't have a lot of like utilities to you besides, you know, your light swing and then your heavy swing. But then when you start going down towards the skill tree, you start unlocking more moves for the axe. And then of course, like one of the main things with the axe is that you're able to throw it, and you can throw it to enemies, and you know it could freeze them. So whilst that enemy is frozen with the axe still in them, you can go ahead and do more just by yourself with like your shield and your fist fighting other enemies, and that enemy is still frozen. And then of course you can just recall back your axe and you can start using it again. Your combat in this game is it's very unique and different. I say unique, but it's very different from the other not Mortal Kombat, I'm sorry, God of War games, especially because the camera is now fixated behind Kratos, and that was something new that the developers over at Santa Monica Studio had did with this game. And I feel like you know, the innovative changes that they made with this game was something that they actually really needed to do, and I think they did it basically perfectly. They basically did it just so well. Like the camera is always behind Kratos, and then they made the combat so fluent. And then of course, you know, you think like Kratos older now, but you have to remember that he's still, you know, the god of war, and you know he's the son of Sparta, so he's still, you know, because he also has the past with all of his past stuff with the previous games, he's still basically as brutal as ever. The stuff that you can do to some of the creatures and the enemies in this game, it's just absolutely insane. And in terms of the story, I feel like with the other God of War games, they tried to put a focus, not really a focus, but they tried to put a premise with the story and the characters. But I imagine a lot of the time people were too fixated on the combat and just being able to like do these juggle combos, which you can still do in this game, by the way, with like juggle combos, just seeing like how brutal this game, like the game could get, right? And I imagine that's what people did with the previous God of War games. But what they did with this game, and I'm glad that they did it like the way they did, because they proved that in 2018 that a linear story-heavy game like God of War 2018 or God of War 4 can sell, right? This game, I can't even imagine how much money it's already made so far on, you know, the release day, which is April 20th. I can't even imagine how much money they've made since then, and I can't imagine what it will be like a week from now. It's gonna be insane, because this game, it's phenomenal. It really is phenomenal, and I really like where they're taking the perspective with the story mode, because it's linear and it's really story heavy, and it's something that I feel like they haven't done with any other God of War game, and I'm glad they're doing it. And the focus is that you're following along Kratos, obviously, and then his son Atreus. And basically what happens is that Atreus' mother and Kratos' wife passed away. And one of the things that she said she wanted to do, or yeah, what she wanted to do or have happen, is whenever she died, she wanted her ashes to be spread all over the highest mountain in just whatever in the land. And originally they thought it was Midgar, but then they find some other guy, and then he explains like, oh no, it's this other place, etc., etc. I'm not gonna try to go into too much of the story details. I'm gonna try to keep it as spoiler free as possible. But basically, you know, they go to the highest mountain point at Midgar, and then, you know, they they meet a guy, and he's like, no, it's actually this place, and then this, etc., etc. And before all that happens, they get attacked. You know, they're preparing to leave, or Kratos is preparing to train Atreus so that way he could then properly be ready for the journey to get to the highest mountain point, right? So, and then Kratos is then confronted by, you know, one of the gods in the Norse land, or the Nordic land, you know, one of the sons of Odin, I guess, right? I don't know what his name is yet because I'm 10 hours into the game, but as far as I know, his name is just Stranger, right? So he's confronted by a stranger, and what we know from him, as we can tell, is that he's a god. He's a god, and he knows that Kratos is a god. And something that I need you to know right now is that 10 hours, like already into the game, Atreus still doesn't know that Kratos is God, and he doesn't know anything from his past. I'm really excited what's to happen when Atreus does learn about Kratos' past, but 10 hours in, Atreus isn't going to basically know anything, right? So anyways, Kratos is confronted by the stranger. He knows he's a god. He's basically slapping and punching Kratos, right? And it's not really doing anything, and so Kratos then retaliates back. And then the dude just then swings his fist into like Kratos' face or his gut, and he's sent flying across the house. And then basically, this is like the first 30 minutes of the game, right? This is actually this epic fight that you have with this Nordic god. It's 30 minutes into the game. I it's the first like 30 or so minutes into the game. It's absolutely insane. So you're fighting this guy, you're getting sent flying across from place to place, and then the game brings up a new mechanic. Not really a new mechanic, but they bring up a mechanic called Spartan Rage, which is basically just Kratos. He powers up and then he screams, not like Dragon Ball, but he powers up. He starts screaming with like the rage of a Spartan, and then he gets a power boost, right? He gets a power boost, and then he starts wailing on this dude, and he starts like throwing like huge like tons of just like rock, which you would think with gods wouldn't really do anything, but I guess God of War can really do anything they want, right? So then Kratos at the end of the fight snaps his neck, and spoiler alert, he's not dead. He comes back, which is kind of weird because Kratos can kill a god, and it's been shown that he was able to kill gods in the previous game, or in previous games actually, because in God of War 3 he killed all of the Greek gods. So the fact that this guy, the stranger, is a god and he didn't get killed is very strange. So then Kratos and Atreus, they leave. And then, of course, we think that Kratos isn't a god anymore and he's mortal, but he's still a god. He has, still kind of godly powers because his wounds from the fight, they get healed, and it's really weird. And for people who didn't realize, yes, Atreus is half god. He is a demigod, right? So basically then it's just after this point, you get to the middle of the map sort of, and it's basically just like this hub world, right? That you eventually at a lot of points in the game you come back to either upgrade your weapons, buy materials, not buy materials, but like buy weapons, not buy weapons either, but you upgrades, buying like armor pieces because there is different armor pieces in the game. And it's basically that, but you can also like rotate like the main hub world and go to different realms, I guess they're called, and then you can go and explore them. And then there's still the surrounding areas that you can explore them as well. And one of the big things that you'll find in the beginning of the game after that fight with the stranger is definitely the World Eater, which is it's the giant snake from the promotional trailers that you see. And the World Eater sounds sick. Like, he speaks in a tongue, in a language that no one speaks besides the guy I was talking about earlier, that Kratos and Atreus meet at the top at the highest mountain in Midgar. He speaks in a tongue, but in a specific language that no one speaks anymore. And then the World Eater, and then every single time he speaks, which no one understands, right? Your controller vibrates and he sounds just epic. You have to play the game. I might play a clip, but honestly I'll forget. So go look up a clip or something, because the World Eater in the game sounds absolutely insane. So overall, the game looks great. The music is great. The combat is great. So far, the story with the characters of Kratos and Atreus and them, getting along with each other, more so. And just kind of them growing, a father-son relationship is great. And then obviously, of course, there's still the brutality that God of War has always had since the PS2, the PS2 with the first God of War. This game basically has everything. It has everything that you can ask for and it's absolutely fantastic. I don't know what else to say. I'm repeating words at this point because I don't know what else to say about the game other than just go pick it up. Go pick it up if you haven't already. If your birthday is close, ask your parents, of course, if you can get the game or not. Or if you have to, you can wait for Christmas, of course. But if you think you can get it today, or at least during the weekend, and then go by all means go ahead and do so. I highly recommend this game, especially if you're a God of War fan. If you're a God of War fan, pick this game up because it's amazing. It's too good to pass up on. So anyways, that's it for the review for God of War 2018 or God of War 4. And yeah, go pick it up, play it, enjoy it. I'm gonna go back and continue playing it because I want to see what happens in the end. I want to play like the 25 to 30 hours that are in the game that Corey Barlog said that was in the game. So, or how much time you can put in the game. So I'm very interested. Yeah, that's the end of the review. So it means it's the end of the video. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like. And if you're new to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button. If you are new, actually, I do a lot of anime review content on the channel. I want to kind of branch off and do more in terms of like top fives for like anime characters or just soundtracks, I guess. But I also want to do more video game reviews. And there was one I had tempted to do, which was Persona 5. I wanted to do it before, the actual anime came out, and I just didn't have time to do it because then I was watching My Hero, and then Persona 5 the animation came out, and I did that, and et cetera, et cetera. I can continue talking about that all day. But anyways, if you did enjoy, leave a like. If you are new, consider hitting that subscribe button and push that notification button so that we can never miss a new video, because if you don't, my videos won't show up in your sub box. So anyways, that's it. I'll see you guys next time. Have a wonderful day. I'm out. Peace.